All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Cindy Martin, and I work as a traditional wellness coordinator from Health Services. And my role is to help promote traditional games as a form of exercise and reconnecting to our traditional ways, because our games are not only a physical fitness, it's also it benefits our health and wellness, such as maintaining good weight and making sure that we prevent illness in the future. I've been promoting traditional games for a number of years, and a lot of times our games are looked at as medicine games to keep us healthy and well. They're sacred. They're often given thanks to the Creator for not only our well-being as helping us get better, but it's also maybe develops relationships such as friends. When we're ill, sometimes we need the extra help. I wanted to mention that when we how many know of the story of the Tree of Peace? Do you guys know about the Tree of Peace, or do I have to go and explain the significance of that tree within our culture? Okay. All right. Well, the Tree of Peace, as we know, our elders have said that the weapons were buried under the tree, under the roots. And so when we look at those, some of those weapons, they were weapons of war. So to change its perception, it needed to become a tool so that we could maintain its purpose here to help us. So one of the things that you might remember is the war club. And the war club would be used to hold on to with men that would be strong enough to swing the club. But the original club would be round at the end, and it would be used to hit something on top of a surface. But because of this game, it was cut in half and maintained to be a game that we'd utilize, and it would be referred to as shinny. But today, in modern society, today's game it's called field hockey. So we only use only one side of this stick is used. But the origin of it was the war club. The other tool that was the other weapon that was changed for its purpose was to be utilized as a hunting tool. And this hunting tool is our bow and arrow. This one specifically is the recurve bow. The traditional bow, it's usually in one piece from a tree, and this one is can be changed in 3 pieces. And the modern day bow is the compound bow. It has wheels on it. So this bow is used for hunting deer and wild turkey and other medium-sized game as well. The purpose of this is that when we hunt, we're supposed to eat whatever we catch and utilize its body, the rest of its body parts for either feathers or parts of clothing, or maybe even the bones itself would be utilized for integral tools as well. But with our traditional games, we also with our tools that we utilize for hunting, it was skill development for young boys to learn how to hunt and to become accurate. As they're growing, they'll get more speed, they get more strength, they get more endurance. So to foster that relationship, they had to become skillful in those, because they would be hunting in the future. When their voices changed, they'd be hunting with their brothers, their uncles, their grandparents, their grandfather or their dad. And one of the things that they would be doing, maybe even at a young age, they would start with this bone and toggle here. And this right here was to help develop hand and eye coordination, because what do you think we would use this for? What kind of animal would we be hunting with this? we would be actually fishing. So it'd be our hand spear, and we would be inside the water, and we'd be patient and still and wait for fish to come near us. And this is where the speed and the coordination would have to come and develop. So the bigger the hole, there would be less of a challenge, and that would be benefiting the success of the child gaining confidence with trying to spear the fish and getting this in the hole. But this hand spear that you would have, it would get more smaller, and then you'd have a smaller spear. They say that when you're going to be spearing, it would be ideally from the back, but if you're quick enough and they're facing you, then you can get the fish. But again, you have to be quick, and so that would be like hand spearing fish. So I was talking to you about the bow, and it's used for hunting the deer. The bone and toggle was to be hunting fish. And what do you think we would be using for this game right here? This is called double balls or ding balls. What do you think we would be hunting? Anyone? These would be hunting our game, our water birds, such as ducks and geese. So this ball would be filled with dirt or stones to make it heavy enough, and you ideally want to be able to catch them before they went for the water or before they flew away. Either way, this game required accuracy, because even with bow hunting, you have to be accurate with that first shot, because you don't get a second. One of the things, the misconception of thinking that hunters go in the woods with 50 arrows, it's not true. They only have a handful of arrows, because it's only one shot that they have, and if they were making their own arrows, it takes a long time to make another one to replenish that if an arrow is lost. So this game itself, catching a duck or a goose, their neck isn't very big. It's probably maybe 2 or 3 sizes bigger than the diameter of this stick. So the hunter itself would have to be very accurate. And I think one of the things that people have to realize is that with our games, it was children, I guess as young as 3, 4 years old, they would start practicing, and girls would play along with them until they were old enough, and that they would be starting to work alongside their mother. But majority of them, these games were for hunting development. So that was one of the things that we have. Do we have any hunters in here, or do you have any hunters in your family? Okay, all right. What about fishermen? You have fishermen in your family? Oh, okay, good. So that was the men's roles, and the female role was the gardening and the gathering. But basically, there was so much to do, because bringing the food home for our families, we had about 50 to maybe 200 people living in one longhouse. So it took a lot of time for people to go and get food and to have enough of it for a long period of time. That was one thing that our people made sure is that we didn't have periods of starvation. There was always an abundance of food stored with our plants and with our meats. But the aspect of our games is everybody had to have a good mind playing these games, because back in the day, like with these games right here, it could be very easy to lose an eye or even to get stabbed. punctured, because if you're running into it, definitely you had to play with a good mind, because you didn't want to have anyone hurt. You didn't want to have anyone even die from some of these games. The bow is definitely still a weapon, you know, and you have to respect that, still with a good mind. You can't be like stressed out. You have to be focused. You have to have clear vision, and you have to be well aware of what's around you and your surroundings. So there's a lot of responsibility. And the other thing too is how many play lacrosse? Okay. Well, this is our game, you know. Everything that you see is made of wood. So that respect for wood, when you get hit with it, you know, it hurts, right? It's nothing that you can't say about it. So you bruise easily if you're playing. But a long time ago, you know, the traditional way of playing lacrosse, there was no helmet, no mouth guard, no padding. So, you know, it was meant to be not only giving thanks to the Creator to help us settle disagreements or to prevent war. If people weren't playing, people could still die from this. But the original lacrosse ball was a ball that was made of leather, and it might have had, you know, was solid with clay in it, had possibly wood, but definitely this would have been the original style of making balls. The other thing about this is that we do give thanks. It's a medicine game, and with lacrosse, it can be, it's part of our ceremonies with the Thunderers and giving thanks for them coming. And again, it can be a medicine game for people that need to feel uplifted, their spirits uplifted. So I know that we have different perspectives in our culture as to whether girls played or not. And one of the things that I was taught was the reason why women aren't supposed to play. And they had said that, you know, the original word for lacrosse is that it's referred to as, its meaning in the language means bumping hips. So if you ever got hip checked, you know, you go flying, you know, you crash into the walls, or, you know, like you're hit with the stick. But when it was explained to me, I had a better understanding of it. And it goes back to that women, you know, young girls would play with their brothers and rightfully when they're young. But when they got older, women's hips get bigger and they grow fuller, and it's because their bodies are getting ready to carry a baby within their womb. And so when they play lacrosse, they have to be careful with their hips, because there are muscles that men don't have to hold that womb in place. And say when they come crashing down on the ground, that ripple effect that comes through their body, when the impact from their body to the ground ripples inside them, it weakens the attachments, the muscles that hold the womb to the inside the body for its to hold it in place. So they talk about when those things get weakened, it has a risk of tilting the womb, and when baby tries to come down the canal, it might not have a precise canal that's aligned, and so that's why they say that women aren't supposed to play lacrosse, is because they might have problems during their delivery, when they're delivering a baby, because the womb could be tilted. So that was why what was explained to me. So with our games, it takes time for young boys to grow into this, because all of them are taught to have a good mind while playing these games, and I think that a lot of times we have to understand that our culture always promotes us having a good mind, and to play with very meaningful purpose. And so what we're going to do in a little while is go and actually take a stick and play outside the double balls. And just to give you guys an opportunity to throw the ball around and to experience what it would be like for as a person getting ready to develop your hunting skills for the ducks and geese. How many have tasted ducks or geese? Okay, well, I know that's part of our diet, and so if we develop our skills on this, you know, we might be able to have more of that on our menu. But the other, did you guys have any questions about it? Okay, well, again, what kind of characteristics do you think men have to have for hunting? Think of a hunter.
Quiet and patient.
Yeah, quiet and patient. There's a game that, you know, to teach kids to be quiet is, you know, it's a competition to see who's the quietest, the longest. And the other game that they would have is, another aspect of it is, it's not only communicating to each other by using sign language or body language to communicate to one another, because you want to be, the hunter needs to be quiet verbally, but also physically. So you don't want to be heavy-footed walking through the woods and causing so much noise that the animals are going to hear you and run away. But you know what? There's another aspect to this hunting part. How many have heard that women aren't supposed to touch the tools of men? Okay, anyone know why? Well, you know, with science and technology, our elders have been so knowledgeable. They may not have known the science of it, but they've said, you know, don't touch the tools because of you'll take its medicine away. Well, again, with science and technology, there's a reason why. And it's because the scent of a woman is so much stronger. They say that a bear can smell blood 20 miles away. It's almost unbelievable, right? But for a bear to be able to have that much of a scent to trace back the blood 20 miles away, it's a very keen scent. And so they say that that women have oils that can leave that trace, pheromones, hormones, onto any surface. And so when you look at forensic science, you know, you begin to learn about the composition of people's touch, right? So when the hunters would gather, they would smoke their tools so that they would get the smell of humanness off of it. And their role was also to protect women, because women were always menstruating once a month. And so we were at risk of being attacked just because of that, the scent that we would leave. And don't get me wrong, it's not that we have grown past it. We're still at risk of being attacked by, you know, wolves or bears or cougars, you know, just because of our natural scent. But they talk about that women are to be respectful for the tools of men. And that's why. Is because we would leave our own scent onto those tools and be easily picked up, and the animals would run away. And the other aspect of our traditional teachings that talk about our food and stuff is that we're to utilize everything, you know, from the meat to the outer exterior to the inside, and that was also our knowledge as women to help our men be able to take care of those things together. So are there any questions about some of our traditional teachings on games and, our roles and responsibilities? Well, the other thing I forgot to mention was to develop, again, patience and hand and eye coordination. We would play certain games called pick-up sticks, and if it had to take a steady hand to be able to pick them up. And we have some of those. The other games that came about were like football and baseball. And if you look at this ball, that would be original baseball that would have been stitched in its original way. Also, we had football, and so our people were very much were lively, athletic, sports-minded back in the day, and that's where a lot of our games were taken and utilized in today's world as to part of the sports world and entertainment, right? So, so I'm going to ask you now to come up and grab a stick, and we're going to go outside. You guys can pair up. I got 4 balls right here, so I have 4 double balls here. Right here, and we can go and throw this around.